welcome back to the Sad Fan, where we talk about the good, the bad, and everything that made us sad. And we're seeing a familiar face back for the first time in a long time. How have you been, Chelsea?
Got some life changes, moved back to New York City, so I'm sitting here in an unfurnished apartment, trying to make the best of it.
We do what we can in that situation.
Yeah, exactly.
You like sit on bike helmets and things like that?
Yep, I'm actually sitting on, we went to the store and we bought a Corgi
There you
squishmallow
go.
thing, so that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, I think when we moved, I was using Spartacus's crate as a chair so I could get like the right balance on the camera. But every
Yeah.
time I get by the crate, Spartacus would be like, "Oh, it's time to get in the crate." I'd be like, "Dude, come on, like stop, get." So it's you got to make the best of it, right? But you're back home. You wanted to for a long time, so we're happy for you. Of course. What we're not happy about though is that Oregon lifted the gate and let Ohio State right in to ruin all of us, yes, proud Ohio State hater, Ohio State haters' lives because they pulled away. They were clear, far and away the best team, it seems.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know that that's necessarily 100% true. I think that there are some things going on. So like first and foremost, after the Big Ten championship, there were lots of rumors about Oregon pretty much having norovirus run through the entire locker room, which is a pretty gross illness if you are lucky enough to never have had to deal with it. But it also leaves you weak for quite a while because it depletes you of fluids everywhere for an entire week while it goes through your system, and then after that you got to recover. So I think that is maybe one potential excuse for Oregon's lackluster play that I've heard. I mean, the other thing is that when you look at what happened with the CFP in general, you have a lot of teams who had some key injuries, Carson Beck being out. You had a lot of teams who had some drama with the transfer portal and with things going on there. Who knows what's really going behind the scenes? And so I think when you have this playoff system that exists after the transfer deadlines, which makes sense because of the academic year, and we're pushing things out further and further into January, you're going to have teams that drop in performance for factors completely outside of like the coach's control. And you've also got, Thanksgiving and Christmas and all of these, distractions that are going on. So I'm not trying to make excuses for Oregon's terrible play, but
New Year's Eve just caught a stray there for no reason.
Yeah, and I think that everybody on a bye had,
Straight down. I was going to say that. I was going to say everyone on a bye, but Wes, our other co-host, would not allow that to be an excuse. He was very upset with Lanning, and he's like, why can't Lanning just get it done in the big game? Because I think you guys have track athletes at Oregon. You have high-speed athletes that can keep up, but Smith went in there and just made the Oregon secondary look toddler-esque.
Slow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of a little bit more inclined to believe like the norovirus rumors, just because that would explain why a whole group is looking like they've got lead in their boots.
Yeah.
It's just something felt off, and I wish that they'd been a little bit more open if something like that did happen, because also that's a disease that like once someone gets it, everybody in the group tends to get it. It's not very easy to prevent communicating that disease across. So
man, I just feel like I was let down. That's all I'm going to say, because I've been a very open Franklin hater, and I've been a James Franklin at Penn State, and then a very open day hater at Ohio State. And immediately I just saw my whole what could be prospective sports media career crashing down as these two coaches who I've openly said are not good coaches. Like Ryan Day, I could deal with. He coaches at Ohio State. But Franklin is not allowed to win.
No. yeah, I mean, the whole thing was really hard to watch, especially the championship game. Just try to enjoy it as much as possible as part of, just the capping of the season. But it really sucks when you have the best record in college football and you beat the
All
national
year.
champion and you're still stuck at number 3 in the season ending AP rankings. It's kind of
Yeah.
a little.
Oregon was rough, and it sucked because I really wanted to see the Pac get represented this year. I was on it the whole year. Wes was on it the whole year. We were pushing for it. We were like, look at all these Pac teams. Look at how great they are. And then
Yeah.
when Kirk Herbstreit had his SEC snafu, we really went in on Kirk Herbstreit because every SEC team, you said Carson Beck got hurt, but they still had Gunnar Stockton down under center. So we left them no excuses.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the SEC bigger implosion this year than the Pac-12 did.
I think we saw the truth. What I think a lot of purists, like, yeah, all three of us happen to be Pac. We happen to be Pac, but
Yeah.
I've hung out with a lot of Big Ten folks, and everyone just we all know that the SEC, they didn't have NIL, they had SECIL going on over there for years.
Yes.
Because every city those big schools are in, the whole economy is the football team. What journalist is going to throw his moneymaker away to dime out the school?
That's a fair point. I mean, Eugene is also pretty heavily supported by the football team. It's kind of similar, but there's
But Phil Knight, you guys have an excuse. You got Uncle Phil.
Yeah, I mean, we could say that the free jerseys and sweatshirts and shoes that were being sold on the secondary market and stuff like that could have been NIL, but obviously not selling their name, image, and likeness. But yes, they were getting compensated in different ways.
The facilities were better too.
Oh, I mean, Oregon's facilities are gorgeous, but
I just think, and I think a lot of people that watch sport for a long time, yes, we will admit the SEC is a dominant conference. However, are they as far away from other conferences as everyone likes to say? I don't think so.
No, I really don't. And I think that, in prior years when we were looking at, some of the traditional bowl games before this, full blown playoff system happened, the Big Ten SEC matchups usually were pretty evenly matched, like the big ones. And they're pretty similar styles of football, and they're really well matched for each other. And I wouldn't say that the SEC, other than Alabama, and then just some of the coaching decisions for players on the field, some of the playbook that they had might have just been just given them the edge a little bit, but it wasn't lopsided. It wasn't extremely dominant. It wasn't 78-0 or anything like that. So I mean, I think that we only remember who wins the game, and because the SEC kept on racking up some championships there, we saw it as like just from their perspective, just them running the whole show. But the actual gameplay, the statistics don't lie. It wasn't that far and away clear cut that Alabama was always the champion or Georgia was always the champion.
Well, Georgia took a long time to get there. They were under Mark Richt for a long time,
yes.
and they weren't getting there. And they had athletes. Like those teams were really, really good. Todd Gurley, Noshawn Moreno. I'm leaving people out here. What was it? Chubb? Nick Chubb was there too, right? Like they had athletes, and they weren't winning all the time. But I love when Shane Gillis called out Nick Saban, called him Indiana Saban, I believe, or Alabama, Indiana Saban, I think is what he called him because of his hat on stage.
Yeah.
And basically hinted at, we know you were paying the players because no one wants to go live in that area of Alabama. Sorry. Like, it's weird. But he's also a Notre Dame guy. And, I mean, who wants to go live in South Bend? It's always been shocking to me, like, all things fair. Like, everything's fair across the board, that Hawaii doesn't have the best team ever just because look where Hawaii is.
Yeah. So, I mean, think that a big part of like why Hawaii specifically hasn't had the best players is because those are long flights back to, Florida, to Georgia, to wherever, to Texas, right? So, but why does USC suck?
Yeah, UCLA.
Why?
UCLA. It makes no sense. Miami. What? Miami was good this year, kind of, but like, what?
USC though doesn't even have to like pretend about scholastic standards. Like they can just. It's always been whoever has money can get in, whoever has privilege can get in. So like, why are they not recruiting?
Yeah, and
like they're just failing.
Just based on location, if you're not paying, but Miami's going to be up there. Miami, I mean, Carson Beck, some of the details of his NIL have come out already, and it's something like $11 million, and it's got Travis Hunter mad. And I'm like, Travis, let me tell you what progress is. Don't look at what's going on in the United States right now, because that's called backwards. But progress, Travis, is you walk so they could run. We talked about it a lot when you were on the show quite frequently as the WNBA was concerned, is people got to walk before they can run. Like, you got to get the people that don't make the money first.
Right. I mean, these numbers for college players are truly shocking. I am kind of surprised that they've blown up so high so quickly. And that money isn't being spread across, like peanut butter, like kind of spread it across the whole program. So that way you have depth and retention at every level. It's just very, very strange to see how much they're investing into individual athletes. And that's not to say that I don't think that it's completely all deserved, because, right, it's still, you have to look at the business. There is a return on investment that these collective members are receiving in various ways. And so it's just the $11 million for one season, for one player.
Who was bad this year? Who was bad? Carson Beck was bad this year.
And also just to give it to 20-year-olds, like stupid kids who are blowing it on Ferraris and shoes is.
I think Carson Beck drives a Lambo to that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which isn't going to do you good if you get injured and you can't go into the league. And now you don't have things like, a Roth IRA and a secondary degree and all of these things that could actually keep you,
Are you pitching a players association to college football? We should have a players association that gives you benefits.
If they're getting paid, they absolutely should have representation, and I do believe that is one of the cases that is coming up to be argued, I think, before one of the circuit courts this spring. So there may still be some changes. There may be some crazy stuff like a collective bargaining agreement, some revenue sharing amongst programs and things like that. So
it's so wide open. It's so unregulated.
It is truly the Wild West out there.
Yeah, even at the rookie symposium, even the NFL now has been pushed to teach players about healthcare plans, future healthcare plans, not the NFL's healthcare plans, but after you retire, look into this. Yes, what is a Roth versus a traditional IRA? What are ETFs and they're not early termination fees, college football players. Okay, like what are these things that you need to invest in, and why do you need to invest in them for your future? When can you withdraw from them? What are the penalties? Because let's be real, USA does not teach finance in school.
No, they do not.
No, we're bad at that.
It is a shame. But yeah, I mean, so to your point though, the average career span of all rookies is going to be 2.3 seasons.
Yeah.
And that's due to injury, to just being a practice squad member who doesn't actually get game time snaps. Like there's lots of different factors, but the thing is that the average length of someone coming in this rookie class is not very long at all. And so it's, just a sliver that have 7-8 year careers, and even that is like on the top end, with you add in injury and age and all of these things. So it's really a very short window to make a bunch of money. And what rookie salaries are still capped at like 788,000.
Yeah, and they're only 3 years before you have to. Pardon me. You have to do the first 3 years before you can even negotiate again,
Right.
because that came up with Jaden Daniels. People were like, they should lock down Jaden Daniels long term right now. It's going to be cheaper in the long run to just lock him down. No, you can't negotiate till the first 3 years are up.
Yeah. So that is, I mean, for a lot of guys, they don't get outside of the salary, and Jim Daniels is going to have. He's making more, but the rookie floor salary, most players are going to be on that for a while, and they're not going to be able to negotiate more. They're not going to have a long-term career, and they're going to need health care for all of those injuries that they racked up over middle school, high school, college.
Mm-hmm.
The couple of years that they were bashing themselves into walls in the league, just trying to make it to that next level. So I think that it is important that, that at the college level, they be having these discussions with kids who just aren't going to make that jump. I mean, what Oregon has out of all of our players, 6 that have declared. I think it's 6, maybe 7 that have.
I think only Penn State has all players that are eligible to go to the NFL that are, eligible to returning.
Yeah, but I think there's only 6 or well, I was going to say there's only like 6 or 7 going to the NFL Combine that have received invitations that have accepted them, and yeah, I mean that's out of an entire team that for the regular season went undefeated. So, while you're there in college, while you're making, maybe not $11 million, while you're making, a couple $100,000, you should be having these conversations with a financial planner. If a couple $100,000 got dropped in your lap today, I would tell you to go speak with a financial planner, right?
Yeah, of course, and you should. You should be obligated to do that before you can even sign. No intelligent legislation is going to go through anytime soon, but that should be something that's signed into law, which is like, hey, if you get a contract and you're under the age of 25, and there's this is much better than the drinking laws. I'm a genius. Anyway, that you're under the age of 25 and you get a contract of a certain level. You said 100,000. That's an annual salary for a lot of people that graduate in high earning career fields. So probably not. You're probably looking at between 55 to 100, depending on where you live. But you should have to go talk to somebody before you sign, because I'm going to be real. People aren't reading terms and conditions, and a college athlete's not going to read terms and conditions. So we should be obligated to have somebody available for them at these universities or within these NFL teams or thing that they can go to, almost like a court-appointed attorney. Like, hey, you got to let me read this before you sign so you understand what's going on. And a lot of the NFL contracts aren't guaranteed. So I agree with you. I mean, sad story, Cameron Brink. Look what happened to her first season in the WNBA. Like, you don't know when that's going to happen to you, when an ACL is going to pop and you're having that dream season. So, yeah, the rookies, it doesn't matter. You're not invincible. You learn fast. And Notre Dame wasn't invincible. So we grazed over this really quickly, and I wanted to attack with what you were saying, how we don't really know the structure of these NIL deals or where this money's coming from, but I know you only have so much capacity. So are you familiar with what happened at the Florida State basketball team?
No.
Okay, so we won't dig too far into it, but I'll give you something fun to look up because you like to get lost in numbers.
Yeah.
They are suing Florida State for $1.5 million in unpaid NIL deals. So the whole basketball team is suing.
Nice.
All right.
Make some wins right
there. It's going to happen more and more, I think. So Ohio State, Notre Dame. I mean, Notre Dame, you mentioned there were injuries. There was a lot of things going on. It's hard to say that Ohio State was the best player, but they do have the trophy. Or pardon me, the best team, but they do have the trophy.
So the thing is that I don't think Notre Dame was the second best team. I think that they got the second best run up in terms of schedule, into just the easiest path into.
They had to play Georgia
with Carson Beck out and his little understudy showing up at the last
Gunnar
minute.
Stockton.
Please, please, like he's going to actually be the hero. Yeah, there's a difference. There's always going to be a difference. It doesn't matter what team you are. It doesn't matter how well you think you have prepped your QB2. When your QB1 goes down, everybody on the line is used to hearing his voice, his calls, his style, his cadence, everything. You can have these two, just joined at the hip all season long, except for game time. And you're still going to see a shock adjustment across the line when everyone has to get used to a second person calling, right? It's kind of like if we just got a hot swap it ring right here and you put my brother in, it would be a very different cadence, style, rhythm.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
So, yeah, I mean, Georgia didn't look they didn't look invincible either with Carson back.
Oh, we did this with SEC. No SEC team looked invincible this year.
Yeah, I mean, they looked strong, but I mean, they weren't having the plays of ye olden days when they would wear their dildo shoulder pads, so.
Yeah, I mean, everything that came out in the Vince McMahon tell-all, I'm gonna allow the shoulder pad joke, because it used to be based on the Legion of Doom, but apparently they were pretty bad people. So we'll allow that. But Notre Dame was also very injured going into that game, going into the championship game, and a lot of people were noting it. And I talked about it before the game. I said, I think Notre Dame has a top 10 cornerback that's not even going to be able to play in the game. The top 10 draftable cornerback that's injured and is not going to be able to play. And they're going up against what has been probably the best freshman receiver in years and years.
Yeah, I think that, there were some like Notre Dame did have some injuries and stuff like that. And I still don't think, having watched the other games and having watched Notre Dame over the season and watching them lose to NIU, I still do not think that this was the number 2 team in the nation.
They're Notre Dame. No. I think Ohio State was better than they played. I will say that. I think Alabama was worse than they played. I didn't think Penn State was good. I thought Ohio State probably throughout the year, they should have lost to Nebraska and Mr. Raiola at quarterback down there. They should have lost to Penn State the first time around. They got beat by Michigan. They got beat by Oregon. I mean, I don't know, but at the end of the year, when I'm watching the playoff, they did look like the best team out there. What they did to Tennessee, and I can't pronounce his name unless I have it written down in front of me, but Imanilova, is that how you pronounce Tennessee's quarterback's name? Imanilova or something like that?
Something. I just called him I'm a Lever.
There you go. He was young. He looked young in these big games.
Yeah.
But that Tennessee team was good, and they dismantled them. So it's hard. It's hard not to say they were the best.
So I think, when you look at the way that the timing and everything lines up, were they the best team in the country, like the week of the college football playoff, which is when it doesn't matter, all of the things that happened previously in the season? And the answer is, unfortunately, I think so, because they did look a bit stronger, a bit tougher. And yes, I mean, they should probably still fire Ryan Day because he did beat Michigan and they lost the game. But,
Yeah, I think that's still on the table while they're doing their tour with the cup around what is a giant city in Columbus. But when it comes to this, you hinted at it with your passive sarcasm, which I love. We're going to have to say Ohio State won the first ever 12-team college football bracket forever. And I hate it so much.
I'm sorry. We couldn't help you guys out. Yeah. It sucks.
I will say one last thing. I did feel bad for Riley Leonard there, even though he'd only been at Notre Dame for a year. If you watch that first drive, they ran him like crazy.
Well, yeah, so that first drive happened, and I really thought that this was going to be a more evenly contested game, especially, actually, I was, at that point, I was kind of thinking, maybe Notre Dame will just figure this out, and they'll just dominate for 40 minutes and just leave 20 minutes to Ohio State to play their
just
game.
ball control.
That first drive took 10 minutes and like 25 seconds, I think, off of the clock entirely. Like, just gone. It was crazy to watch, like, how much they were just able to control the ball for that first quarter and just very slowly just chip away. And I was like, well, if they can do this for 4 quarters, they've got it in the bag. There's like no time for Ohio State to even make a play.
But the defense was so injured. And then Riley Leonard, after that drive, was throwing up everywhere.
I know.
Like, it was an unsustainable game plan from the hottest coach in college football. All right. He couldn't do it. Like, Marcus Freeman, you're a looker. You did so much better than Brian Kelly did. I think Wes last week said, bold prediction, Brian Kelly gets fired next year. I was like, I don't know if that's bold, but I agree with it. Like, I think he does get fired.
Yeah.
Marcus Freeman was great. He was great. He was a great coach for Notre Dame. He's what Notre Dame needs. He's not going to the NFL. It's going to be a transfer portal year for Notre Dame, but I think they're going to be good again next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, we're kind of looking at similar horizons for both Oregon and Notre Dame, like a lot of rebuilding, a lot of, we're keeping our coach. At least that's what everyone's saying right now. And
he's not a bad coach. I was teasing. He's a good, Dan Lanning's a good coach, but he just can't win big games, or not even big games. He wins big games. Sorry, pardon me. He can't win in the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's like, part of it, it's kind of confusing to me because there was all of these videos that came out over the weeks, that Team Out West, the video series and everything. And it looked like there was so much discipline, so much messaging. And it's almost like maybe there was too much. And by the time you get to, 18 weeks through the season, and that's just through the season, everyone's kind of like, okay, like, can't kind of just hold it together for one more week.
Or it's a grind. I mean, it's that, or you're just ground down from all the discipline, all the structure in a sport, like you mentioned earlier, that's so violent and so rough and dangerous. You get ground down from all that discipline, and then you go out there and you have to execute. And I think it just hits ahead. Or that break was the worst thing that could have ever happened to Oregon. Yeah. Maybe they had the momentum.
I think there's a lot of unanswered questions for a lot of programs out there, but I think, Oregon having been, number one throughout the entire season through the CFP and having that seed and that target on their back, I think that those are going to be highlighted at a very big level, and it'll be interesting. And the thing for me, just to, close out the season, is that I didn't expect any of this at all after week 1. If you told me at week 1 that we were going to be, in the playoffs, I would have just laughed at you. I would have told you, like, you're absolutely insane. Like, have you seen
or that Boise State game?
Between Boise State and the Idaho game, I wasn't even a believer until probably week 7. Honestly, it was until the Ohio State game where it's like, oh my God, I think we might actually be good. So, I mean, I think a lot of people, a lot of critics, a lot of even fans would be pretty quick to say that this was a horrifically disappointing Oregon season, when just shut up, man. It was actually way better than we really thought it was, if we're being honest with ourselves, like after week 1 and 2. So,
those bubble screens got to go away, Chelsea. Like, for Texas, for Texas, for Oregon, for all these teams. Like, I get it, get your athlete in space, but when you get to this level of competition, enough. Have a better game plan.
So I will admit that I am not, obviously I never played football. It just was not a thing. The flag leagues didn't exist, when I was growing up. I can't read plays that well. Like, I can get a general gist of what's going on, but I can't just say, like, oh, that's this. I could see we were running bubble screen after bubble screen after bubble screen. And I was like, you have got to be joking me. Like, is there nothing? Did we like let the playbook out the bus window on the trip over here? Like, what's going on? So yeah, I think, Stein's play calling is definitely very, I don't know what you want to call it, just very, unfortunately, devoid of substance in that final game.
It's uncreative.
Entire season of doing the weirdest stuff imaginable, like punching or like doing the kick to the guy and having it bounce off of him. Like, oh, we were creative. We were doing things. We were getting in trouble for having to, refine rules and stuff like that. And then we just kind of gave up. I'm not really sure what happened.
I see why people like Ben Johnson and Joe Brady are going to get big jobs, because they are pulling away from this behind the line of scrimmage offense and trying to push the ball while still getting the ball into the hands of your playmakers. Neither one has abandoned the run. If you watch the Buffalo Bills or you watch the Detroit Lions this year, they don't get away from the run. They don't abandon the run. They still run the ball, but with an ability to push the ball down the field instead of driving me crazy and everyone else that watches crazy. Get it? I'm going to say it again. I get it. You're putting the ball into into the hands of your playmakers, but you're also putting the ball 4 to 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, negating that they might have playmakers on their side of the ball too.
Yes. These throws to behind where you started are nuts to me. I don't know what we're doing here, both in college and at the NFL level. But I am really sad about the Lions losing. I just think that's just a travesty. I picked them to win it all this year in my brackets, so I'm still a bit butthurt about it. But I mean,
well, Raiders lost twice, Chelsea, because the Raiders were pulling for the Lions too, and then they lost out on Ben Johnson, but they got Pete Carroll. We're gonna get to that here in a minute. But you said you were just heartbroken because you had them going all the way in your bracket, so you've got to be a Bills fan this weekend, then, right?
I am. I've always loved Josh Allen. I think he's great. I think he's just doing the most, with what he's got, and it's pretty incredible. And to be frank, he's so much less annoying than Patrick Mahomes.
And his whole family lately. The whole Mahomes clan is annoying.
Yes. I'm tired about hearing about everything associated with the Chiefs. I'm just very, very tired of it.
Except for Caitlin Clark. I'll keep hearing about Caitlin Clark, especially because it makes every man mad. It makes me even more happy. Because I'm like, you're so mad about something that's so stupid. Also, she's so much better at her job than anyone you've ever met in your life.
Yeah.
I'm a big Bills fan this weekend. The Four Falls of Buffalo, I hope that's over. A lot of people forget that the Bills and the Chiefs gave us one of the best playoff games we've ever seen a couple years ago. Or was it last year where they went into overtime? It was a couple years ago because they had to change the overtime rule because of it, because Josh Allen never got a shot to go back down the field. We just don't want the Chiefs to drag it into the mud. They have a tendency to drag games into the mud this year because they have athletes, but I don't think they've learned how to use them yet, because Xavier Worthy obviously beat the Combine 40 this year. They've got a Juju Smith-Schuster still. Isaiah Pacheco is back. They re-signed Kareem Hunt. They've obviously got Travis Kelce. Noah Gray's been a really good backup tight end for them. But they still just drag the game down into this gross mud.
When you look at the score differential for every game this season, it is just razor thin. And it's a very annoying to watch over and over and over again.
Because you know what's going to happen. That's why it's so annoying. You're like, damn it, Patrick Mahomes is going to drive him down the field.
Right. Because they've got 2 minutes and 15 seconds left, and he can totally do it. But the thing is like, he also had, 10 minutes and 15 seconds back there to do it, and he didn't do it. So, I think that, there is kind of psychologically like this level that they go to and that they like playing at when there is when the game is on the line. And I think that they need to almost like scare themselves by like not acting until like the last 2 minutes of the game. I swear, like it sounds crazy, but
Or are they bored? Or are they bored, Chelsea? Are they that couple that's been together so long that they're like, you know what, should we just rob a bank together to get our sex life back? Is that who the Chiefs are now?
whoa. Maybe. No, but I think that they, are doing some things that are just you watch a game and it is so sloppy and it's like there's flashes of brilliance and then the team on the other side of the ball is trying their best, they're trying their damnedest to move the ball down the field, and they're kind of like keeping track, and it seems like for both sets of fans on like either side, they have got to be really annoyed watching these games because there's usually Mr. Here, turn these stripes the other way, coming in.
Yep, I agree.
And then, but even Chiefs fans, you see it happen, 9, 10 times. You're like, there's no way they're going to let this happen in 11th time, right? And then it does. So yeah, I mean, I don't think the season's scripted, but I do think that there are quite a few refs perhaps doing some activities on the side to line their wallets.
You are more in our history of doing the show together. You tend to be more protective than I do of the players. So it is interesting to hear you calling out the referees right now, because I'm with you. Like some of these things, Patrick Mahomes is, even Troy Aikman. If you guys watch that game, Troy Aikman was like, "Oh, enough!" Like out of nowhere. Yeah. Like, and it's a lot. He's acting. He's out there thinking he's Timothy Chalamet.
Oh boy, what an apt comparison there. Yeah, no, there's just something that at this point, it's weird. It's weird, and if money isn't the defining factor here of why these things keep happening, I will be extremely surprised. And I'm not normally a conspiracy theorist. I'm usually, a little bit more likely to give people the benefit of the doubt, but this isn't just a couple times this season that these curious
3 times in one game. Yeah. This last weekend.
Yeah, it's a lot, and it feels like someone's livelihood who is in charge of throwing these things is on the line.
I think it's Roger Goodell's livelihood is on the line. He needs the Chiefs to keep winning.
Somebody's, or maybe the refs are making bets with bad bookies. I don't know, but all I know is like just something doesn't pass the smell test, and I'm waiting for the tell-all book in 10-15 years.
Yeah, this season's been interesting for the Chiefs, and I'm not saying it has been every year, but this year it's been very visible. It's been prevalent, if you will, that they are getting some calls that other people are just not getting. If the quarterback becomes a runner, passes the line of scrimmage, you cannot call roughing the passer. And I know that's not what they called. They called it unnecessary roughness, but let's all be real with each other. It was roughing the passer.
Yeah.
So it is a lot. Let's get to Jaden Daniels, because I got to let you go before you lose your daylight here. Let's get to Jaden Daniels making it all the way to the NFC Championship. And he's not the first. I think the most recent was Mark Sanchez with the Jets to the AFC Championship. Yeah, right? That worked out well for his career, from what I understand. But we also had Sean King with the Buccaneers a while back, years ago. So we've had a few do it. But Jaden Daniels, to me, has had the best rookie season that I've ever seen.
Oh my God. That guy gives me panic attacks whenever I watch him play. Like,
because he's this big.
Please gain like 10 pounds on the offseason. Like, just sit on your couch and just eat, please. Somebody is going to snap you like a twig. And I don't want to see it happen on live TV, please. But I love this story. I have enjoyed watching the Commanders so much. I think it's been such a fun year, just because they've just been in the basement, in the just absolute gutter for so long. And
behind the Giants. How hard is that to do?
And I just, I can't feel bad for the Jets right now. They did it to themselves. The Giants are a mess. They're sad. They also did it to themselves.
Yeah.
So
The Maras are another family that can just leave this earth. Please leave this earth.
Yeah, we've got a few NFL team owners that could just
100%. But where my gripe is with the Maras, it's not the same as the Snyders and the Joneses of the world. But I will say this: they are anti-celebration and anti-fun, and I hate them.
But they're in the no fun league.
They are. They're absolutely in that league.
Yeah. But I mean, it is really exciting though because if you look back to this time last year, you will see me on tape saying that Jaden Daniels absolutely should not have gotten the Heisman, that he was a fraud, that he's whatever. And I had a lot of words, and I would like to quickly take all those words back because I also am pretty sure I said he would never make it in the league, that he would get snapped like a twig.
I said he was bad at Arizona State, so what do we have that says he's going to be good now?
Yeah, so I think we're eating a lot of our words because, when you have guys like this that have a lot of flashy buzz around them, it's really easy to dismiss them, especially if, they aren't, winning titles and stuff like that, and they aren't playing for your team and you're a homer with bias.
But he got good in a system too, so I don't think we're too far off. He wasn't good at Arizona State. He got good in a Brian Kelly system, and almost like Ohio State. Like I had to eat my words a little bit on C.J. Stroud, but he regressed a little bit this year.
Yeah,
it's almost like the Ohio State quarterbacks. There hasn't been can you name one great Brian Kelly quarterback that's made it in the league?
No,
I can't either.
I can't. But
not Cincinnati, not Notre Dame, and this is his first one at LSU.
Yeah, but I mean, I am just really glad to see him getting some success because at the end of the day, especially once players make that leap from college to where which is what truly has my fandom heart completely to the NFL. The NFL, I'm a little bit more agnostic.
Your heart on.
Yes. So I'm a little bit more agnostic on the NFL. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the Seahawks. Love them. But it's not the same diehard, complete homer by, it's a little bit different. I love the sport generally at that level. So I love seeing guys take the leap, especially that first rookie year, going all out, making an impact, making a difference. And it's kind of cool to just see them develop as they go through, get their bag, and hopefully stay healthy enough until they bounce out. So, but awesome. I'm rooting for them. I mean, my brackets are busted, and I don't care. I just want to see some fun football, which is a lot better to watch than whatever I watched on Monday. So,
yeah. I mean, Saquon had a game on Sunday against the Rams. Like it was absolutely nuts to watch Saquon. I'm so happy for Saquon Barkley to be out of New York because he's playing so free right now. And the Eagles still tried to give it away. Nick Sirianni still tried to mismanage the time just enough for Matthew Stafford to win that game. I do want to get to the Eagles Commanders more, but how heartbroken were you for Mark Andrews? Drop the 2-point conversion.
Yeah, no, I had to take a second because I was just like, oh boy. That was just absolutely devastating because I think everyone can just relate to the camera like zoomed in on him and he's just, his hands just go right there and then past it. And
it wasn't the best throw.
It wasn't.
Nobody's saying that.
But it was still, it's just something is in your grasp and it's just right there and then it's gone. And There goes all of your player bonuses. There goes, all of the press and fans and everyone, everyone suddenly hates you. And you are persona non grata in Baltimore right now for the next, however long, until people have something else to be mad about. Because, what about Lamar? You aren't giving him you're taking stuff away from, the quarterback and stuff. It sucks for him. And I'm really, really sorry that there are going to be so many shitty people, crappy people who don't get it, who don't understand, and who just want to vent their anger because apparently, bullying people is how we respond to everything these days. And,
he's their leading scorer of all time.
Is he really?
Yes. He's or at least pass catching scorer of all time.
Yeah, I was going to say, because it's almost always the kicker.
Justin Tucker.
Yeah.
No, he's caught more touchdowns than anyone in Baltimore Ravens history. That I know. So let me say this. I think the Commanders end here. I don't want it to. Eagles are really good. Yeah. Eagles have a great offensive line. That's a huge reason why Saquon's had this resurgence. AJ Brown, he is so into his book that it's got him playing out of control now. So we've got. I just think the Eagles are too much to overcome. Do you want to make a pick there? Same.
You know what? I think it's the same. I really can't see the Commanders beating the Eagles at this point. I think that they're kind of just like on, they're on autopilot right now and they're just rolling right through. I mean, obviously Super Bowl is going to be a different story, but I definitely think it's going to be the Eagles, but prove me wrong, Jaden Daniels. I've already discounted you more times than I could probably count.
I mean, I had Baker beating him, so I'm with you. I'm a Baker boy, though. I like Baker. I can't help it. I'm so happy for him.
Well, I love Bucky, so I also have the Bucks going.
So there you go. It was Jaden Daniels is just gonna prove everyone wrong, and we'll see if he can do it one last time. Yeah. I want to give a shout out to Kelsey Plum really quick. Congratulations on her jersey retirement at UW. I wish Wes was here to talk a little bit about that, but he's not. I didn't have enough time today to talk. You said a bunch of things, buzzwords for me, that I wanted to tease Wes about because he was such a homer for every Oregon player this year. And you brought up in passing, you didn't say their names, but it keyed me in on these players. But I actually would rather give you about 3 to 5 minutes to talk to me a little bit about Unrivaled and what do I need to know and what do I not know yet.
Okay, so Unrivaled is Brianna Stewart's new women's basketball league, and it is a fascinating idea. It's a 3 versus 3 league with shorter games, very quick turnaround, and so the games are played Friday and Saturday nights, I believe, and they can be found on TNT. But the idea is to keep all of the teams located right in Miami, and so that way the women do not have to pay for their travel. They don't have to pay for, lodging in hotels and stuff like that, which is something that they do have to do with the WNBA because they're not getting paid, and don't have the team overhead expenses to fully charter travel everywhere. So this is a cost saving, but also player wallet enhancing measure league to keep women who are professional players staying in the United States to play. So that way they don't have to go to Russia. They don't have to go to China. They don't have to go to Azerbaijan to play. Yeah. They are staying in the United States. And that is a big deal. Obviously after the Brittany Griner story and everything that's associated with it, but also to keep these women near their families and their loved ones. So, if someone wants to go see their mom for a weekend, they can. They don't have to make a huge international trip, deal with visas, all of that. So very exciting idea to kind of like year-round gameplay. But one of the problems with this league is even though that there was a lot of initial fanfare and a lot of initial buzz, I have personally noticed that Miami might not be the location for this. And I have watched some of the games on TV and the attendance is really, really poor. So if you do love women's sports, if you do like women's basketball, or even if you actually don't, just turn it on. Just turn it on mute and walk away. Like just another viewer, another number because this is providing for women's livelihoods. Like the average WNBA player makes less than you would think, and like I said, a lot of that money is going out to just travel with their team for the regular season games. So the more that we can support women's sports, just turning on the TV, talking about it, using social media. There's only a handful of teams. There's some really good players in there. Sabrina Ionescu is on one of the teams. She's on the Phantom, I believe.
Like the number 3 selling shoe last year.
Yes, which I have a pair. I love those.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just support these women. This is a really cool venture. There's a lot of good ideas behind it. It's just, I'm really hoping that Miami gets into it. So if you know anyone that's down there, go check it out. The tickets should be inexpensive because it really is not. The stadiums are pretty empty while it's being played. So hopefully this is a pilot program that can actually get going, get off the ground. And yeah, if it wasn't all the way down in Miami, I'd definitely go check it out.
Yeah, Miami's always been a city that struggled to get fans to games because it's not my type of fun, but there's a lot of fun to be had in Miami and other things to do. So It's not like you're the only show in town.
Well, I mean, the Miami Hurricanes football team was pretty decent this year, and they still couldn't sell out their stadium. So, I mean, sports really struggle in Miami. The Miami Heat, even in their heyday, struggled with, filling out their arena.
Marlins are a big one.
Huh?
The Marlins are a big one. Even in their World Series years, they can't sell out.
There's like 200 people at a game. So I just think it was the wrong city, and I think that they chose it for reasons that don't really reflect the nature of what they were trying to accomplish. So I'm really hoping that they relocate this to somewhere that's a little bit better for getting people in the door and for actually financially supporting the validity of this league, because I think that there's a lot of promise to it. I know that there are definitely some women's groups in New York that are planning flights down to Miami to go see it together, which is pretty cool. I considered joining them, but I've got a lot of personal stuff going on at the moment. I was very tempted, but I will see Sabrina at Liberty Games this year since Barclays is just down the street. So
that'll be awesome. That'll be so much fun for you. This has been fun having you back on the show. Cheers to many more here this new year in 2025. Now that you're baby steps. What is it? Is it Lao Tzu? The journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step.
Yeah.
So we'll get there. We'll get there. I appreciate you, and I appreciate all the fans. Thank you for joining us each and every week, and we will see you next time.